All right. Now let's shift base. For some days now, the story of Starlings has been in top on the news. NCC, of course, has reacted, and then we've heard of data, the need for increase in tariff or not. And then let's get updates. I did speak to, an official from NCC earlier today, and they assured us that there's the pre-enforcement of penalties on Starlink. That's the stage that they say they are at this time. But let's talk about that and perhaps the need to increase tariff. We've had players in the sector complain that they're not breaking even at this time. But let's get the first-hand information now from the General Managing Director of VDT Communications, Mr. Biodun Omoniyi, joins us right here in the studio. Mr. Omoniyi, good morning, and thank you so much for your time. I know you're a player in the industry, so you're going to be careful answering this. What was really going on with Starlings and NCC? Some people say they had approval to increase tariff, but the domestic or the local players did not. NCC has come out to say that's not true, and so now they're beginning enforcement of penalties. Being an insider, please gist us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good to have you.
Okay, Starlink is a company, and VDT Communication is another company as well. We're in the same industry. We provide data communication services, broadband services generally. So, but on this issue, the role of NCC as the regulator. So whom should we believe? Was there really an application? I mean, I don't want to get involved, but I just want to set the tone and say, okay, was there an application? NCC will know. If Starlink had applied, they will know as well. However, if there has been an approval, then whoever gets approval will know. So I don't know the nitty-gritty, but generally, for you to increase a tariff, part of the regulation that guides the industry is so that you will have to get an approval from the NCC. So if that is settled, then there won't be an issue. However, I must say that the industry, the prices is due for review. It's been due for a long while. And you can see, many companies are actually running at losses. MTN, you saw their half-year publication, and the same thing is happening all over. We've been hearing of smaller players dying, not as big as that. But the moment a company like Starlink comes in to the industry, things will change. There's been a lot of dislocation in terms of foreign exchange. Starlink probably counts his money in FX. You know what has happened in the last 1 year to the FX market? So this is actually affecting all operators. If we are talking of cost-reflective tariff, then definitely the reasons why you are seeing losses in operators' operations is because their costs had risen, whereas the revenue had actually not grown. And there is an urgent need for the regulator to start giving.
Yeah, but where goes the consumer in this? Because the consumer in Nigeria is getting hit from so many fronts. There was an announcement of an increase in minimum wage, which doesn't go to up to half of the population. Even that seems to have been eroded. Now, we have this tariff, we have petrol, we're looking at subsidy being totally removed, and now we're getting hit on this side. Who's speaking for the consumer? Who's caring for them?
Okay, so these businesses are private enterprises. They are not government or public NGOs. And there is a linkage between investment and profit. Okay, so in an industry where there is no profit, then there can't be investment. In our own industry, if there is no investment, then what we are going to see is poor quality of service. So I hope you are linking what I'm saying. So now it's good to talk for the consumer, but the consumer has to pay the right price. So if the consumer continues to behave like in the days of Nitel, then we will have a non-existent industry. Even the government institutions, the discos that came from the government base, they eventually, there was band A, band B, tariff. So now, if you talk about consumers, we are all consumers. We consume one thing or the other. There is a structural problem. There is some dislocations that exist now in the economy. So there is FX dislocation in the last 1 year, and that affects the issue of diesel consumption. More than 40% of operators' OPEX it has risen to like 60%, is expended on diesel. So that is energy. And that is also affected by the FX. So, and aside that, so what that means is that definitely we need to make sure that in a capitalist economy, the operator is able to make profit. If they are not able to make profit, the consumer is even going to suffer bigger losses than the pricing. So we knew maybe in the early 2000s when telecoms came, Nitel was still operating, MTN, Airtel, then Econet, they existed, and the tariff was high. Then we started saying people moved from the lower price to the higher price because they were able to get better quality. So let's restore quality by right pricing in the industry.
So what percentage of increase would be right pricing for operators like yourself?
Well, I mean, there is the operators themselves, they operate in the economy. So percentage of increase, I can't see anything less than, I don't want to put a particular percentage now, but it may be something gradual. The regulator needs to ease the burden by making sure that maybe something like 50% to start with, and then increasingly, depending on how the economy goes, there may be, and the operator can then put up a system that makes it that makes it easy for operators to be able to use cost. Once cost starts increasing, then the margin is thinning out, and as it is now, wiped off. So they do not need to continue to come in and make application. Everybody sees it when the cost. So the regulator can set up a system wherein is getting cost. When cost is rising, then we should be able to moderate and allow the pricing to be as flexible as the cost is.
What change in consumer attitude can we expect with this increase you're asking for? We know now that it seems a lot of consumers, at least in Nigeria, at least in the urban areas, are switching to data. So there's data call more than normal calls. And what change in behavior can we expect? Do you think some people will drop off or will be dropped off the consumer bracket if there's an increase?
I do not really think people will be dropped off. I think quality is going to improve. The data, like you said, is if you look at the operators' growth rate, you will see that data continues to increase, like you just mentioned. I think we are going to get better. We are going to get better service, more services, more applications will come on, and people can then actually do what they are doing faster because operators will have enough resources to invest and buy more modern equipment, and that gives better coverage, or even have more equipment that will guarantee better coverage. So what I see is that there's going to be better quality of service, and with better quality of service, then people will be more encouraged to go and use this on other platforms. We have the educational sector. Even though yes, it's been, some people are having data-enabled learning now. This is going to grow more. We have it in banking. More people will be able to operate on this. So, and of course, we have more enriched voice using these voice calls many people do their voice call on data now, then the quality is going to improve, and then that will encourage.
So is this
usage.
talk already on with NCC? Can we as consumers say maybe in a couple of weeks, in a couple of months, we would hear of this increase? Is that in the pipeline?
In natural sense, I won't talk for NCC, but definitely it can. I mean, this can.
As operator, you guys have already applied.
Yes,
for
operators
it,
have applied. We are pushing, and it's just justifiable that this be eased and the increment be granted.
All right, thank you so much. I'm not happy to hear that, but I mean, I'm a journalist.
That is the reality.
I'm a journalist in this case, and I have to.
I'm preparing everyone for that.
I'm preparing our man to pay
for an increase.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Thank you so much, General Managing Director of VDT Communications, Mr. Biodun.
Group Managing Director.
Group Managing Director.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your views and preparing our minds for that increase.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So now.